And there is political akrosh against the Congress government in Rajasthan after a 300-year-old temple was demolished in Alwar. Both the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Vishwa Hindu Parishad took to the streets to protest bulldozers being run to demolish temples in Rajasthan. The BJP alleges that even idols were not spared. They want not just an apology, but even the resignation of the Ashok Gehlot government. The Congress, of course, in its defense says that the demolition drive was ordered by the BJP-controlled municipal body. Here's what happened through the day today.
Fire and fury at a BJP VHP Akrosh rally. This march in Rajasthan's Alwar.
ये देखो सराय में जो मंदिर है शिव जी का वो कैसे धराशायी ये देखो.
Against the demolition of a 300-year-old Shiva temple bulldozed to the ground in the name of development. Images of the demolition had gone massively viral earlier, showing bulldozers in action and drilling near the Shivling during an anti-encroachment drive. And the blowback of the Alwar demolition is quaking the Ashok Gehlot government. Anger spilt out onto the streets as the opposition BJP and the Vishwa Hindu Parishad staged this massive protest, accusing the Gehlot government of taking revenge against Hindus for the Jahangirpuri demolition in Delhi a few days ago. Protesters tried to break barricades and had a face-off with the police.
बिना किसी की सुने हुए वहाँ के विधायक महोदय की अनुशंसा पर उनकी उपस्थिति में और उनके द्वारा किए गए अधिकारियों ने भी यही कहा कि साहब हम तो सरकार का कहना मान रहे हैं, हम तो सरकार के आदेश की पालना कर रहे हैं. विधायक के कहने पर ये सब चीज तोड़े जा रही है, तो विधायक के खिलाफ कार्रवाई क्यों नहीं हुई?
हम लोग प्रशासन से उम्मीद करते हैं कि वो हमारे आस्था का जो सवाल है उसका मान रखते हुए जो भी इसमें जो भी कार्यकर्ता कांग्रेस कार्यकर्ता ने जो गलत ऑर्डर दिए हैं उन सबको सस्पेंड किया जाए.
The protesters called for the resignation of Chief Minister Gehlot for targeting of Hindus through an act of vengeance. They demanded the rebuilding of the demolished ancient temple at this very same site and an apology to Hindus for the demolition. Alwar MP Balaknath and many other saffron monks participated in this protest.
सरकार से तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति ये राजस्थान सरकार लगातार कर रही है. हिंदू समाज इसको बिल्कुल सहन नहीं करेगा. सरकार अपनी हरकतों से बाज आए. जो हमारी मांगे पूर्व में थी कि जो भी अधिकारी हैं उनको सख्त से सख्त सजा दी जाए, मंदिर का पुनर्निर्माण करा जाए.
There was no actually resolution to demolish the mandir. There was only a talk about making the Gaurav Path and developing the Gaurav Path, and even that had been amended from 60 feet to 30 feet. There was no reason for which this action should have been taken in the manner it was taken.
इसी सरकार का काम क्या है? उस सरकार का काम है कि धर्मनिरपेक्ष रहना चाहिए और सभी के लोगों का सम्मान करना चाहिए. अब अगर राजस्थान की सरकार में मंदिर टूट जाए तो किसकी जिम्मेदारी होगी? खुद सरकार की होगी.
The Congress, however, maintains that the local administration is under the BJP and it is the Saffron Party which not only bulldozed the temple.
कोई मंदिर नहीं टूटा, बीजेपी ने मंदिर तोड़ा है और बीजेपी के आदमी को मंदिर को बेच रहे हैं. अभी गंगा बाग में बीजेपी का नेता है और जो पुजारी है वो उस गंगा बाग को सारों को बेच खाया और बीजेपी का नेता ने तबेला के पास से 16 बीघा जमीन पर मैरिज होम बना रखा है जो कि मंदिर माफी की जमीन.
Will the saffron blowback impact Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot's government in the upcoming elections? With Devankur Vadhavan in Alwar, Bureau Report, India Today.
And this bulldozer politics, it's escalating. The BJP has accused the Congress of double speak, opposing bulldozers in Jahangirpuri or in Khairgaon, but resorting to the same to demolish a 300-year-old temple in Rajasthan. The BJP and the VHP had a major akrosh rally today. They demand restoration of the temple and the resignation of the Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot. The Congress says it's the BJP municipal body that took the decision. It's now on center stage. Joining me on the Newstrack is Swarnim Chaturvedi, spokesperson of the Congress in Rajasthan. Tom Vadakkan represents the BJP. I also have Dr. Vikram Singh, former Director General of Police, joining me on the show for an administrative perspective on developments here. Swarnim Chaturvedi, पहले मैं आप ही से जानना चाहूंगा, भारतीय जनता पार्टी ये कह रही है कि कांग्रेस की सरकार है, मुगलिया शासन है, औरंगजेब की तरह काम कर रहे हैं, मंदिरों को तोड़ा जा रहा है और डबल स्पीक हो रहा है। मतलब दो मुंहापन है बातचीत में कि अगर खरगांव में या जहांगीरपुरी में बुलडोजर चले तो कांग्रेस उसका विरोध करती है, वहां पर जाके छाती पीटती है। राजस्थान में वही बुलडोजर चलाकर 300 साल पुराने मंदिरों को तोड़ रही है।
गौरव, मैं आपको एक चीज कहना चाहता हूं कि बुलडोजर चलाना और बुलडोजर से आम आदमी के घरों को, दुकानों को तोड़ना और मंदिरों को तोड़ना, ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी का काम है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने हमारे राजस्थान में 200 से ज्यादा मंदिर तोड़े, जिनमें से उन्होंने खुद ने एफिडेविट दिया। आपके यहाँ पे स्टोरी चली है 14 जून को, आप देख लीजिएगा, आज तक की स्टोरी है, 14 जून को चली है, जिसमें उसमें कहा है कि 200 से ज्यादा साल पुराने करीब 23 मंदिर उन्होंने तोड़े। उसकी लिस्ट उन्होंने जब हमने एजुटेशन किया तब दी थी हमें। तो वो औरंगजेब से ज्यादा मंदिर तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी की गवर्नमेंट ने तोड़े थे यहाँ पे। और दूसरी चीज मैं आपको ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि हम लोगों ने, आप ये बताइए, भारतीय जनता पार्टी के सांसद जब भगवा चोला ओढ़ लिया आपने और बेचारे राजनीति में आ गए तो उनको कितना झूठ बोलना पड़ रहा है। वो ये कह रहे हैं कि राजस्थान में सरकार हमारी है इसलिए जिम्मेदार हम है। भाई, आपको एक फैक्ट्स मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूँ कि राजस्थान में जब वसुंधरा जी की सरकार थी, जब बीजेपी की गवर्नमेंट थी, तब बीजेपी की गवर्नमेंट ने मास्टर प्लान बनाया था। मास्टर प्लान के तहत जितनी भी उस रोड पर घर, दुकान और मंदिर हैं, उनको एनक्रोचमेंट डिक्लेयर किया। एनक्रोचमेंट डिक्लेयर किया, उस एनक्रोचमेंट को हटाने के लिए वहां से जब एनक्रोचमेंट नहीं हटे तो ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी के, आप देख लीजिए, ये लेटर हेड है भारतीय जनता पार्टी का, लोकल लीडर है, वहां का प्रेसिडेंट है उनका मंडल का, उसने ये मेमोरेंडम दिया और मेमोरेंडम देकर के उसने कहा कि एनक्रोचमेंट हट क्यों नहीं रहे। इसके बाद आपको मैं बताना चाहता हूं कि इनकी मीटिंग हुई 17 सितंबर 2021 को। नगर पालिका बोर्ड जिसमें बीजेपी का मेजोरिटी तो है ही, बीजेपी की इतनी मेजोरिटी है कि 34 में से 32 मेंबर्स बीजेपी के हैं। बीजेपी ने इस अपनी सरकार के जो मास्टर प्लान है इसको आगे बढ़ाने के लिए वहां पे एक रेजोल्यूशन पास किया, यूनिमस रेजोल्यूशन है, जिसमें उन्होंने ये कहा, इनके पार्षदों ने, इनके चेयरमैन ने जो सतीश तोलारिया है, उन्होंने ये कहा, गौरव पथ के बीच में चाहे मकान आए या छज्जे आए या कुछ भी आए, सभी को हटाया जाए। इलेक्ट्रिक पोल हटाए जाए, उन्हें भी हटाया जाए। दोनों तरफ बराबर जो है बिंदु बना करके, मध्य बिंदु को चिन्हित कर, मेला चौराहे से गोल चौराहे तक, सराय स्टैंड तक, दोनों तरफ समान दूरी से अतिक्रमण हटाया जाए। ये रिजोल्यूशन इन्होंने पास किया। देखिए, अब रिजोल्यूशन आपने पास किया, रिजोल्यूशन पास करा और इसकी कंप्लायंस में, ये मैं आपको फिर एक लेटर दिखा रहा हूं।
नहीं, वो लेटर आप दिखा रहे हैं, आप कह रहे हैं कि ये सारा बीजेपी का काम है। टॉम वडक्कन, रिस्पॉन्ड टू दिस। Congress accuses the BJP of blatant double speak. BJP runs the municipal body. The Congress says BJP passed a resolution, made a master plan,
not only passed
cleared this project, and now
drive.
when demolition was carried out, BJP is crying foul.
Lies, lies, and damn lies. These are the words that I can only speak of the Congress spokesman, Mr. Chaturvedi. Gaurav, 2016, there is the minutes of the meeting of the municipal board in which it says the measurements were not available to declare the temple as an encroachment. I am quoting the minutes of the meeting 2016, okay? Then we come down to 2021. In the minutes of the meeting, this is actionable action that the board takes because it goes according to the minutes. And in 2021, there's no mention of a temple. Now, this is the act of that typical magician who acts as the chief minister of Rajasthan. His earlier profession was a magician. He thinks this kind of magic can fool people. You have a BJP municipal board and the cover-up operation is through these officials they operate. The admission is also an admission, a suspension is also an admission of guilt of the government. Why was the SDM suspended if there was nothing wrong? Let me tell you something more. A notice was issued but one day before and action started immediately after Jahangirpur operation. This is a PFI project being implemented by the Rajasthan government to create the divide among Hindus and Muslims. Peace-loving people, but they are attempting to create this. They create this atmosphere. Now you can see the visual of a temple, 300 years old. This temple is being pulled down.
Let me bring in Dr. Vikram Singh for an administrative perspective. You've both made your points. Dr. Vikram Singh, is there merit in Tom Vadakkan saying that suspension of officials is admission of guilt by the Ashok Gehlot government? A 300-year-old temple being demolished, in your appreciation, does it smack of vendetta? BJP says if there is a religious structure, any religious structure, whether it's a temple or a mosque or a church or a gurdwara, that needs to be demolished, permission needs to be taken from the police and the administration. They report to the state government, not to the local bodies. Your take on facts, sir?
Gauravji, very correct conclusions. The first, that the police and the local administration would be governed by the state government and not by the local bodies. That point should be very clear. And if the police and the administration were by the side of the demolition, they cannot wash their hands of the case. Therefore, what Tom Vadakkan sir says has lots of merit and logical consistency. Number two, if suspensions has happened, it means that there is a guilt complex, and that is why, prima facie, a case has been made out that yes, they were negligent in the performance of their duties, and that is why the suspension, otherwise the suspensions would not have happened. Then the third, and I would not like to believe the tall claims made by fundamental elements, those aligned with the PFI, saying that what you did in Jahangirpuri, we got the retribution and also our revenge at Alwar. I would not like to believe, but again, I would strongly recommend, Gauravji, a case be registered to be inquired into by the CBI to go into the merits, because it is too serious a problem, involvement of the PFI. Those in Delhi and elsewhere claiming that it is out of vendetta and revenge that they managed to manipulate the Rajasthan government into doing what they did. I would not like to believe, but okay, yes, I would strongly recommend.
Sir, that's a very serious point. That's a very serious point to raise. But स्वर्णिम चतुर्वेदी जी, इसका भी उत्तर दीजिए, और दोनों गंभीर बातें हैं. क्यों अधिकारियों को निलंबित किया गया? Why were they suspended? They must have been suspended because there was some guilt involved. और किस डॉक्यूमेंट में लिखा है कि एक 300 साल पुराने भगवान शिव के मंदिर को तोड़ा जा सकता है, बुलडोजर से गिराया जा सकता है? ऐसा कैसा गौरव पथ बन रहा है राजस्थान में कि अब पुराने मंदिरों को ऐसे तोड़ देंगे?
अब मैं आपको पूरी बात बता देता हूं, आप मेरी बात सुनिए. देखिए, भारतीय जनता पार्टी को जितना झूठ बोलना है वो बोल चुके हैं. राजगढ़ में तो वो जा नहीं पाए. आपके चैनल पे ही रिपोर्ट थी कि बाबा बालकनाथ को चूड़ियां देकर के औरतों ने वहां से भगाया था. अब देखिए, आप कह रहे हैं ये ड्राइव जो थी पूरी, ये ड्राइव किसने चलाई, किसने वहां पे तोड़ा? ये स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने तो नहीं तोड़ा, ये तोड़ा है नगर पालिका राजगढ़ ने. ये इनका ऑर्डर है, ये देख लीजिए आप. आपको मैं बिल्कुल क्लियरली दिखाता हूँ, डेट भी देखिए.
अधिकारियों को सस्पेंड क्यों किया गया?
बिल्कुल, वो भी बताता हूँ. अब इसका भी जवाब देता हूँ मैं. आप सुनिए, ये इस ऑर्डर को पढ़ना एक लाइन इसलिए जरूरी है. इसमें लिख रहा है, ये है 13 अप्रैल का लेटर, जो ये कहता है कि हम उपरोक्त विषय निवेदित है प्रशासन द्वारा गोल चक्कर मेले से चौराहे की ओर मास्टर प्लान मार्गाधिकार प्राप्त करने में बाधा बन रहे निर्माण संपत्तियों को दिनांक 17 अप्रैल 2022 को हटाए जाने की कार्रवाई 7 बजे प्रारंभ.
मतलब मंदिर तोड़ दिया जाए, 300 साल पुराना मंदिर तोड़ दिया जाए, ये लिखा है इस दस्तावेज में. आप ये कह रहे हैं 300 साल पुराना मंदिर तोड़ दिया जाए भगवान शिव का
आप
भारत देश में?
पूरी निर्माण संपत्तियां तोड़ दी जाएं, यही लिख रहा है इसमें. और आप बताइए, जब अगर ये ड्राइव पूरी जो है इसको चलाई है नगर पालिका ने, तो नगर पालिका ही जिम्मेदार होगी. मैं
तो फिर एसडीएम को क्यों सस्पेंड किया गया? एसडीएम और पुलिस किसको रिपोर्ट करते हैं?
अब सुनिए,
वो नगर पालिका को रिपोर्ट करते हैं कि अशोक गहलोत सरकार को रिपोर्ट करते हैं?
यही मैं बता रहा हूं आपको, क्यों उनको सस्पेंड किया. आप ये देखेंगे कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी की नगर पालिका ने तो ये कार्रवाई की. ये कार्रवाई हुई है 17 अप्रैल को. 17 अप्रैल नोट कीजिएगा आप. 22 अप्रैल तक, जब तक ये वीडियो वायरल नहीं हुआ, इस तरह की कार्रवाई होगी. इन ऑफिशियल्स ने रिपोर्ट नहीं की ऊपर, क्योंकि ऑफिशियल्स नहीं तोड़ते. और यहाँ डीजीपी साहब बैठे हैं, एक्स डीजीपी हैं. क्या पुलिस कभी तोड़ने जाती है? क्या डिमोलिशन ड्राइव में हथौड़ा लेकर के पुलिस जाती है? ये जाते हैं ऑफिशियल्स, जिस भी लोकल सेल्फ बॉडी के होते हैं, वही गए थे, उन्होंने तोड़ा. और उन्होंने वहां पे सूचना नहीं दी ऊपर, और इतना बड़ा हंगामा हो गया. ये सतीश कुमार दुलरिया, भारतीय जनता पार्टी का नेता, जो चेयरमैन है उस नगर पालिका का भाग गया, आज तक पता नहीं। आप पूछिए ये कहां था 17th को जब ये डेमोलिशन ड्राइव चल रही थी।
Tom Vadakkan, you oppose the demolition of a 300-year-old temple but are accused of partially demolishing a mosque gate in Jahangirpuri. Congress says you indulge in equal doublespeak.
Gaurav, what we did was according to the law. The temple, the mosque was not touched. All that happened was the gates were encroaching and the gates were course corrected into the limiting act. No mosque was destroyed like we have seen in the state of Rajasthan. Point number 2, the great Kapil Sibal has gone to Supreme Court arguing that bulldozers are destroying mosques. What are they doing in the state of Rajasthan? The visual media is full of pictures. Now, this gentleman talks about a resolution. You asked the right question to which he is not answering. Is there a mention of the temple in that resolution? My point is further deep. I'm mentioning to you the minutes of the meeting. In the minutes of the meeting, there's no mention of a temple. How come it has become actionable? Point here is they were reporting to the chief minister, and the chief minister is liable. I think it is the larger interest of this country that the chief minister resigns.
Okay, you're saying the chief minister should resign. Is there a bigger dangerous game that is being played in our country, and it's a very dangerous game that appears to be happening in terms of this bulldozer politics and what's happening, the words that are being said, the yatras that are being targeted? I want our viewers for a moment to listen to, I want you to listen to very senior Congress leader, former Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Digvijay Singh. Listen into Digvijay Singh. I'll get you more on this story.
ऐसी शिकायतें आ रही, मैंने उसकी जांच नहीं की है कि कुछ गरीब मुसलमान लड़कों को पैसा देकर खुद ही पत्थर फेंकवाते हैं भाजपा के लोग। फैक्ट है क्या सर ये आपके पास? ये मेरे पास फैक्ट्स नहीं आए हैं, मैं उसको चेक कर रहा हूँ, मैं इसलिए आरोप नहीं लगा रहा हूँ, लेकिन जो जानकारी आ रही बता रहा हूँ आपको, इसको मैं चेकअप करूंगा, उसकी बात करूंगा।
स्वर्णिम चतुर्वेदी जी, आपने दिग्विजय सिंह की बात सुनी कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लोग गरीब मुसलमानों को पैसा देकर पत्थर फेंकवा रहे हैं। भारतीय जनता पार्टी आरोप यह लगा रही है कि कांग्रेस राजस्थान हो, मध्य प्रदेश हो, अलग अलग राज्य हो, मुस्लिम तुष्टीकरण कर रही है और अफवाहें फैला रही है। दिस इज र्यूमर मॉन्गरिंग। इज दिग्विजय सिंह स्टेटमेंट र्यूमर मॉन्गरिंग वेयर ही एक्यूजेस द बीजेपी ऑफ पेइंग पुअर मुस्लिम्स टू पेल्ट स्टोन्स एट हिंदू रिलीजियस प्रोसेशंस? चतुर्वेदी जी,
देखिए र्यूमर्स मॉन्गरिंग का तो अगर आप किसी को एक्यूज बना सकते हैं तो सिर्फ बीजेपी को बना सकते हैं। मैंने अभी आपको बार बार कहा, आपने पूछा कि ऑफिशियल्स को क्यों सस्पेंड किया, मैंने उसका जवाब दिया। किसने तोड़े, ये मैंने आपको बताया, बीजेपी के जो काम कर रहे हैं।
मेरा प्रश्न दिग्विजय सिंह पर है और बहुत क्लियरली दिग्विजय सिंह पर मेरा प्रश्न है कि मुझे पता नहीं है, मैंने सुना है बीजेपी मुसलमानों को पैसा, गरीब मुसलमानों को पैसा देकर पत्थर फेंकवा रही है। ये किस तरह की भाषा है?
देखिए, अब बीजेपी किससे पत्थर फेंकवा रही है ये मुझे नहीं पता, दिग्विजय सिंह जी ही इसको क्लियर कर सकते हैं। हाँ, एक चीज जरूर है, हमारे राजस्थान में माहौल बिगाड़ने की पूरी कोशिश बीजेपी ने की। और आप देखिए कम्युनल टेंशन करौली में भी हुआ था, उसका प्राइम एक्यूज कौन है? बीजेपी लीडर, जो आग लगाई, जिसने पूरे बाजार में आग लगाई है, 30 दुकानें जला दी वहां पे और भागा हुआ, बहुत बड़ा लीडर है, लेकिन बीजेपी कार्रवाई नहीं करती। बीजेपी से आप यहाँ पूछिए, भारतीय जनता पार्टी के बड़े नेता बैठे हैं यहाँ पे, ये बता सकते हैं कि जो इनका चेयरमैन था वहां पे, जिसने जो जिम्मेदार है, जिसके कारण टूटी हैं ये सारी दुकानें, वो कहाँ है? ये बड़ी आसानी से कह देते हैं कि उस रिजोल्यूशन में कहाँ लिख रहा है कि टेम्पल तोड़ने की तो बात नहीं कही। तो उस रिजोल्यूशन में कहीं ये लिख रहा है कि इस सब कुछ तोड़ा जाए लेकिन मंदिर ना तोड़ा जाए? ये भी लिख देते, क्या दिक्कत थी? और
ये बहुत खतरनाक खेल नेता खेल रहे हैं समय इस देश के साथ, बहुत खतरनाक खेल। बट टॉम वडक्कन, योर पार्टी इज बीइंग अक्यूज्ड बाय अ सीनियर कांग्रेस लीडर ऑफ paying poor Muslims to pelt stones. Respond to this very grave allegation, sir.
Look at the statement. Whenever Digvijay Singh makes, he's an old friend of mine. Whenever he makes a statement, you've got to go into the essence of it. He says, I have complaints, okay, which has to be verified, which he's not sure of. And when he says, well, the complaints are there, and he makes a charge that BJP is doing this or doing that, I will verify facts later, but take this as a headline. Point here is Digvijay is too clever for all his words. If we read through the lines, the print line that he says is obvious enough. He has no facts before him. He has received some complaints. There could be hundreds of complaints of that variety, or there could be cooked up complaints. Be what it may. Point is, Digvijay has to answer for this.
Dr. Vikram Singh, you know, whether Mr. Digvijay Singh responds or comes up with facts or not, is this a dangerous statement to make in a country where we are witnessing a spike in communal tension, where we are witnessing a spike, where a mosque gate is being targeted, or a 300-year-old temple is being demolished, where a Ram Navami procession is being targeted, and such a statement comes? What do you make of it as an administrator, as a former Director General of Police?
Gauravji, extremely dangerous and irresponsible. These are sweeping generalizations that do not help anything. I would have been very happy if this was referred to the intelligence to make further inquiries and come out with the truth. Making just loud noise about something that is uncorroborated and unconfirmed, adding fuel to the fire, will not help the cause of preserving communal amity and harmony. And I had expected a lot more from senior leaders like Mr. Digvijay Singh ji. But yes, for a person who addresses Hafiz ji, Hafiz Saeed Sahab, then I don't expect much, and I don't have much expectations of such political leaders. But yes, for political advantage, if he is taking a stance and coming out with a narrative, I firstly, as an analyst, would not believe for a moment, because had there been an element of truth in this, the intelligence people would have got to the bottom of this and have come down heavily on those who were indulging in this kind of monkey tricks to vitiate the communal atmosphere in the country.
Far more dangerous, you're absolutely right, sir, but extremely dangerous, and more dangerous than just monkey tricks. Why are these tricks being resorted to? Needs to be investigated further. Stay with me for a moment, gentlemen. I quickly want to now shift focus to another demolition drive, or a bulldozer drive that's looming large, and this time it's at Shaheen Bagh. Shaheen Bagh, remember, was the epicenter of the Anti-Citizenship Amendment Act protests, and this is where the municipal corporation says that they've carried out a study, a drive. They've identified illegal structures where the Rohingyas are illegally staying, where Bangladeshis are illegally staying. Of course, it's not restricted just to Shaheen Bagh. There's also Jaipur, there's also Sarita Vihar, and bulldozer action is on the cards. We bring you this report.
Delhi Municipal Corporation is once again ready with the demolition drive to free the capital city of illegal encroachments. This time, the target area is South Delhi and the controversial Shaheen Bagh in particular.
हमारे पिछले 5 साल से जो इस टेन्यूर के लोग थे लगातार वार्डों में सर्वे कर रहे हैं। मैं तीसरी बार इस वार्ड में आया हूं, जहां निगम पार्षद ने जब बोला हम वहां पर जाकर किया है, और इस बार निगम पार्षद जी को महसूस यहाँ पे बार-बार कंप्लेंट आ रही थी। उन्होंने बोला इस बार हमें इधर जाना है, तो हमने इधर आके
अच्छा, ये जो इधर का इलाका है, ये जो इधर इलाका बना हुआ है, ये भी ओ जोन में आता है, तो क्या पूरा ओ जोन पर चलाएंगे, या आप कह रहे हैं क्या कि जो इधर बन रहा है इधर चलाएंगे, इधर नहीं चलाएंगे?
जो कुछ जिम्मेदारी राज्य सरकार की भी बनती है, जो राज्य सरकार उसमें हस्तक्षेप।
लेकिन डेमोलिशन का काम तो आपका एमसीडी का काम है, कौन चलाएगा?
हमने राज्य सरकार को जितने बार भी कोई परमिशन मांगी, कोई फाइल भेजी है, तो आज तक ना वो फाइल लौट कर आई है।
आम आदमी पार्टी हिट आउट एट द बीजेपी मेयर इमीडिएटली।
भाजपा के लोगों को सबसे पहले आज बलसवा में जा करके और सर्वे करना चाहिए कि आखिर 15 साल में उन्होंने क्या किया था कि जो आज दिल्ली के लोगों को इस तरह से आग से जूझना पड़ रहा है। बुलडोजर चलाए होते 15 साल तो ये पहाड़ नहीं खड़ा होता।
This war of words comes after Delhi's South MCD mayor called for a crackdown on Rohingya and Bangladeshi encroachments in the national capital region, claiming that several government areas in Shaheen Bagh are being illegally occupied. The mayor said that the encroachers have been living illegally for decades in Delhi's Kalindi Kunj and Sarita Vihar too.
बांग्लादेश या रोहिंग्यों को बसाने का काम किया गया है, जहां पर अवैध अतिक्रमण, अवैध निर्माण किया गया, वहां पर हम पूरी तरह से बुलडोजर।
अगर बांग्लादेशी और रोहिंग्यों के खिलाफ अतिक्रमण किसी ने किया, उस पर चलाएंगे नहीं चलाएंगे?
बिल्कुल चलाएंगे,
बिल्कुल। यानी पूरी कॉलोनी टूटेगी, पूरा जो ओजोन पे है पूरा टूटेगा।
जो लोग इसमें कुछ लोग कोर्ट गए हैं, अगर जिनको कोर्ट का संरक्षण है, कोर्ट का स्टे, उस पर हम कार्रवाई जो कोर्ट का माध्यम से करेंगे, बाकी जगह हम पूरी तरह से कार्रवाई करेंगे।
कब तक होगी कार्रवाई?
कार्रवाई आज भी हो सकती है।
आज भी हो सकती है।
Unlike what happened earlier on 20th April at Jahangirpuri in northwest Delhi, this time the municipal authorities are trying to follow protocols of informing illegal occupants.
यहाँ के लोग निर्धर रह रहे थे, अब ये अचानक बन रहा है ऐसा, तो 25-30 साल से लोग यहाँ बस रहे हैं। पूरी कॉलोनी एक जैसा ही बसा हुआ है।
वो हटवाते हैं गाड़ी, हम हटा लेते हैं। हमारा तो गाड़ियों का काम, हम चाबी मारे हटा देते, हमारा कोई नहीं, कोई परमानेंट हमारा कब्जा नहीं है। वो आते हैं, चाबी मारते, हम चले जाते हैं।
Shaheen Bagh became the epicenter of the anti-CAA protests 2 years ago. Other than Shaheen Bagh, South Delhi MCD has identified several areas including Okhla, Vishnu Garden and Madanpur Khadar for this round of bulldozer drive. Bureau Report, India Today.
Reena Gupta of the Aam Aadmi Party now joins me. Reena Gupta, now that the MCD plans to use a bulldozer against illegal structures at Shaheen Bagh, and not just at Shaheen Bagh, there's also Sarita Vihar, there's Jaipur. MCD says due process is being followed. Will this also be looked at through a political prism?
So Gaurav, as you are well aware, Bharatiya Janata Party has been ruling MCD for the past 15 years. And as a citizen of Delhi, I can tell you that you cannot put a new brick in your house unless you have MCD approval. So if there are any illegal settlements anywhere in Delhi, अगर कोई अवैध निर्माण दिल्ली में कहीं हुआ है, it has been done with connivance of the parshas of Bharatiya Janata Party. So what they did was, for 15 years, they extracted money from the citizens of Delhi. They helped them in building these structures, and now they are going to the same citizens and telling them that unless you...
Okay, give me a moment as I try and reestablish that link. But Tom Vadakkan, respond to that. Just before municipal elections, and why at Shaheen Bagh? It's identified with anti-CAA protests. Before civic body elections, there's talk of removing these Rohingyas, Bangladeshis, demolishing illegal structures that the Aam Aadmi Party says came up in the past 15 years. Your party was at the helm of affairs.
Well, Untruth is a specialization of the Aam Aadmi Party. They come into public domain coming with all half-truths and trying to create an atmosphere where all corruption is at the other end, and they are as corruption-proof as you can believe. This is part of an encroachment drive with due notice within the ambit of the Supreme Court, which is not too far from here. If the Aam Aadmi Party feels there is some intention, you see, this is all vote bank politics that they are processing. They know these Rohingyas and the other section of society whom they support are essentially vote banks. So they have been encouraging and nurturing this group of people. And when they do this, they try to put the blame on the Congress party. Who is hand in glove with them? Who initiated the riots in Delhi? Who created all this havoc in Delhi? Delhi is a peaceful city. You have
no, but the point is,
and who was the municipal council?
Who controls the MCD? Who controls the MCD? Whose job is it to stop illegal constructions when they are coming up? Why is a demolition drive being undertaken now, Mr. Vadakkan, and why not earlier? Why just before MCD elections?
Well, this is not part of any particular drive. This is part of a program that has been going on. Encroachments, I put this on record earlier also on your television, on your channel, that look, this is not just part of an isolated issue. What happened in Jahangirpuri was also part of the project. It was nothing in retribution, as these people like to mention. This is part of development of the city and removing this unwanted... Now, something is happening in Haryana. The Banjara market has been demolished. Why? Because they have occupied government land. But here they are ready to overlook everything because they believe that these are vote bank and these vote bank will vote for them. They will do nothing for them. That's another issue. Okay. But yes, they will say that we are the protectors, we are the people who gave you free electricity. They will also say we gave you free air also. They'll claim anything. And then they say vote for us.
Reena Gupta, respond. You were interrupted. We lost your link. But the BJP says whether it's illegal Rohingyas or illegal Bangladeshis, they're a vote bank. And that is why there is opposition to an anti-encroachment drive that's not just restricted to Shaheen Bagh, but it's across multiple locations.
So Gaurav, in Delhi, as you're well aware, the issue of land rests with central government. Intelligence is with central government. Delhi police is with central government. If they knew that they were illegal immigrants, all of these people were in these localities, then why were they sleeping till now? Why is it that they had to wait till now? And all this while, their parshads have collected crores and crores of rupees, Gaurav. You go to any locality of Delhi, you talk to the citizens, they'll tell you, एक नाली बनाने से पहले भी पार्षद को
make an allegation in public domain without evidence. How can you make such a charge in public domain? How can you come and lie on public television? Do you have evidence?
Yes, I have evidence. This is all your audit reports. This is audit reports. MCD. Yes, I have evidence. Let me complete. These are audit reports of MCD. Audit reports.
Okay, one by one.
Audit reports. No, Gaurav.
One by one. Okay, so let Reena Gupta complete her point, sir. The moment Reena Gupta completes her point, I will come back to you. I also want to bring in Dr. Vikram Singh. But go ahead, ma'am, complete your point.
See, Gaurav, you pick up any audit reports of MCD. The audit reports clearly state there is large-scale corruption in MCD, and that is the reason Bharatiya Janata Party unconstitutionally has postponed the elections of MCD, because they know.
No,
that
but are you linking? Are you opposing this illegal demolition drive? You're calling it illegal because they're saying it's part of a drive. Let it happen. Why is the Aam Aadmi Party opposing the drive?
Gaurav, what is happening now, and I have evidence. What is happening now, their parshads are going to people in Delhi, to shopkeepers, to residential owners, and saying, हमें पैसे दो, नहीं तो हम तुम्हारा घर गिरा देंगे. पहले घर बनाने के लिए पैसे लिए, अब घर गिराने की धमकी देने के लिए पैसे दे रहे हैं. This is how they are behaving.
No,
and that is the reason why we are opposing.
So let it come out in public domain. Let it come out in public domain. BJP says you're protecting a vote bank. Okay, Tom Vadakkan wants to respond to you.
And that is the reason why we are
Tom
opposing
Vadakkan
this.
wants to respond. Only Tom Vadakkan now.
अगर किसी के घर पे बुलडोजर चलना चाहिए तो सबसे पहले भाजपा
She is making charges against law. She's making charges against legislators, and this can be applied to her party too. What they're doing and their collection enterprise that is going on. I mean, I don't have to go into detailing because I'm not. I will produce proof when I have it. But when the proof comes, I will make it public. But here is no evidence at all, and making charges against legislators, people elected by the people of the locality, and these charges have been made.
Let me once again bring in Dr. Vikram Singh. Dr. Vikram Singh, it's not just at Shaheen Bagh. It's also at Jaipur. It's also at Sarita Vihar, where a drive is being carried out. And the MCD says this drive first identified illegal structures. Now they are going to carry out a demolition drive. Now, because it's happening in Shaheen Bagh, should it just be stopped because it was the epicenter of anti-CA protests, or should the authorities bash on regardless?
Gauravji, they should go on full steam irrespective of what the criticism is. You may recall the large number of the presence of the Rohingyas, the Bangladeshi illegal migrants, who arguably are involved in nefarious activities, crime, hedonism, violence, and anti-national activities. Under these circumstances, I think this should have happened much, much earlier. Anyway, better late than never, Gauravji. But I would be very happy, as Ms. Gupta has a very pertinent point, this should have happened much earlier. 15 years is a long time. Who was waiting for whom and why? The larger question. The point that is germane now is that if we have to lay a brick in my house, the MCD people will swoop down. And why this was allowed to happen and why so late. But yes, in principle, I would say that this anti-encroachment drive must go on, and the demolition must go on in national interest and in public interest.
So the demolition drive must go on. Illegal structures must be raised. Reena Gupta, would the Aam Aadmi Party oppose and if an illegal structure is brought down, let's say at Shaheen Bagh?
Gaurav, any demolition drive has to follow the due course of law. You cannot pick and choose where you're going to carry out the demolition drive. Also, first of all those people, all the parshas of Bharatiya Janata Party who have taken money from poor people.
Okay, ma'am, you're making that same point for the third time. I asked you a very specific question. Is the Aam Aadmi Party opposing the drive or are you supporting the drive? You know,
I answered the question.
Correct. But you're making the same point, and brevity must be your forte. I'm short of on time on this part of the show. But this is a story. This is a story we'll be tracking very closely. A demolition drive that will now take place at Delhi's Shaheen Bagh, Sarita Vihar and Jaipur. To all my guests, many thanks for joining me.